Okay, stop yelling. Ugh, you gotta shout it out. I don't know what that was, but I'm not happy about it. Hello, everybody. This is Sarahscopic, and you are watching Traffic Musings. I'm once again filming this on an off day. Today is Thursday, and I'm actually going back home. No, not permanently. I be going home every other weekend, as I told you guys, for stuff. But this is good, because that means that soon I'm going to be recording some more Let's Plays. So, that's cool, right? Okay, yeah, that's cool. Excuse me, gosh. Okay, let's move on to the show. Anyway, so I was trying to Let's try that again. So I was trying to muse over what I should I can't speak today! I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk to you guys about. I had some ideas and I wasn't really sure. And I decided to just kind of go with how I started with Photoshop, which is super random, but I mean, I figured it's kind of a funny story, actually. So as you guys have known, maybe if you watched any of my older episodes, I can't draw at all. If you ask me to draw something, it will not look like what you wanted it to be. It's bad. It's so bad. I just can't. I just can't do it. However, that doesn't mean I don't like artsy stuff. That doesn't mean I don't like visual mediums. It doesn't mean that I'm completely incompetent. Well, that's up to the judge. But anyway, if you guys pay attention to my show at all, you'll see the cards that I call them. But anyway, the titles, I guess, are my own stuff. I make that stuff. Editor John's only in charge of videos. I make the title cards. We're gonna go with let's just go with that one. So I make those things myself, and they're all through Photoshop. Pretty simple. But the story of how I got to Photoshop is kind of funny. Let's start from the beginning. When I was a wee lad of 14? Yeah, that sounds about right. I was a wee lad of... I wasn't a lad. I was a wee lady, as I am still a wee lady. This is not going well. But I was a younger person of the age of 14. I got into a game called Phoenix Wright. You guys are probably wondering how this is at all related, but just trust me. So I got into Phoenix Wright when I was 14, as I have explained 20 times. Well, whenever I get into any kind of game, I look up all the social stuff about it. Forums, basically. I was a heavy forum user for quite a bit of my life when I was younger with Nancy Drew games. That's a whole other episode, and I will hopefully get to that later, because that's also kind of funny. Anyway, all that's important is that I got into the forums for Phoenix Wright. Court Records is the name of the site. It's nothing official, it's fan-made, but pretty much the largest base for, Phoenix Wright stuff. So I got into it, and I started posting a lot of stuff in there, and all those funny adventures of talking to random strangers online, and there's something that, of course, the Phoenix Wright community did not make up, but that is called spriting. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically when you take sprites in a video game. Maybe you also don't know what those are. How do I explain this? Have you guys ever played any kind of 2D game where... Yeah, any kind of 2D game where there's the animation that, each frame of stuff? Those are sprites. All those individual little pieces are sprites. It's just that in games that I play that are somewhat more visual in nature, you're going to see more detailed sprites because you see usually full body or half body of characters, and they're usually talking with their hands or just talking in general, and so there is more detail to them, and so they look like people instead of just moving around little sprites. Phoenix Wright was very popular for spriting because of how many characters there were and how many things you could do with them. So I thought, oh, that's cool, I want to get into spriting too! Yay! So I did. But I wasn't very good at it, and I'm not going to show you guys because they were pretty bad. According to some people, I guess they're decent for someone who doesn't do art, but I wouldn't believe it. When I did spriting, I used paint because that's all I had. All I had was paint. On my, wasn't mine, but on our family's Windows 98 desktop, I did it through paint. And for anyone who knows what spriting involves, yes, I meticulously recolored pixels of Phoenix Wright sprites. If you don't understand how tedious that is, look up Phoenix Wright, look up a Phoenix Wright sprite, open up Paint, take a magnifying glass, and compare to the size of the pencil tool. The pencil tool is 1 pixel. Now imagine recoloring a whole sprite with just that, by pixel by pixel. Yes, It was tedious, and yes, I was crazy and had too much time on my hands. Actually, I didn't have any time on my hands. I don't know how I found time for any of this, but anyway. So I did spriting on paint. However, I wanted to animate my sprites because people were able to do that, and I thought that was super cool. And I wanted to do that with my own sprites that I made. So I looked around the forums and asked, what did you guys use? Oh, well, we use GIMP. What's GIMP? I don't remember what it stands for. I just know it's GNU something, something, something. Something with graphics. That's all I know about. And everyone kept saying, oh, it's the best free kind of Photoshop. And I knew what Photoshop was. Everyone knew what Photoshop was. And I thought, okay, well, I'll download GIMP and start on that. Because GIMP had capabilities. Thank you, Gabby. Because it was awesome because GIMP had GIF capabilities. You could make GIFs out of it. So, easy enough. I started, I would upload my sprites that I made on Paint and start making them into GIFs. Awesome! That's a lot of fun. So I did that for a while. However, I started noticing that on these, the forum that I was at, even though every forum does this, but I noticed for the first time on this forum, people, had signatures. SIGs, as I used to know them as, but signatures and little avatar pics. And people would make them, and they looked really awesome. And I wanted to know how to make those too. So I started looking up tutorials and found out that GIMP was awesome because it could do fractals. And fractals, I'm not even going to get into what those are, just look them up. They're used in like every kind of web form signature ever. They look pretty cool and they're all mathematical, but I need them for artistic stuff. So yeah, cool. So I started, playing around with those and seeing how those worked. And I kind of got used to that. And around the same time, a good friend of mine knew I could do this. And she was like, can you make wallpapers, computer wallpapers? And I was like, I can try. So I started trying that out. Thank you, Gabby. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I had a friend at that time who knew I could do this, and she went, oh, could you make me computer wallpapers? I thought, sure. Not really, but I'll try my best. And so I did, and they were awful. But she accepted them, and she would put them on her wallpaper. And that actually ended up being really good for me, because that meant that somebody was taking my work and was using it and doing stuff with it. And that actually meant a lot to me because I knew I wasn't good. I could see other people's work and I knew that I was not at that level. But I needed someone to tell me that I was good enough for them so that I would keep trying to learn and wouldn't just give up because my self-confidence is down the drain half the time. That's a whole nother story. I worked on that and I would, keep experimenting and stuff like that. Well, throughout this process, you kind of can go in one of two directions as far as, specific stuff. I could have either focused more on animating, with GIFs and stuff like that. I did that with sprites and thought that was fun. Or I could take the more artistic route. So I kept thinking over which two paths I would take, and guess which path I ended up taking? If you thought Photoshop, you would actually be wrong. I actually wanted to do animation. Funny story. For my birthday, I asked my dad if I could have Flash. I'm not joking. I wanted Adobe Flash because I wanted to learn to animate. And my father said, cool, well, let's look up prices and stuff like that. And he ended up finding online a very cheap price for Adobe Flash CS5. And we should have known from the start that was very suspicious. Actually, CS4. CS4 or CS3. Whatever. It was older. So anyways, he was going to get me Flash. Okay, awesome. But when he got it and, gave me the CD and I put it in, I'm trying to load it up into our Windows 98 computer, or XP at this time, we can't get it to work. We don't have the right code. So my father emails this guy who gave it to us, kind of found out that it was maybe a Chinese bootleg of Adobe Flash. Come to find out that they gave us the wrong CD. They didn't give us Flash, they gave us Creative Suite, which basically, if you guys don't understand, means I got Flash along with DreamWorks, whatever the coding one is, Illustrator, Photoshop, and among some other stuff. So basically got a $1,000 deal for less than $200. Yep. So that was great. We got all the right codes, so we put it on the computer, and all of a sudden I have Creative Suite on. And I tried to learn Flash and got very impatient with it very quickly because, as I need to remind you all, I can't draw. And what is Flash? Drawing. And I couldn't do it. I had no patience for it. Every single time I tried, I wasn't getting it. And so I was thinking, what am I going to do? Oh my goodness. things. So I opened up Photoshop, because even though I was in love with GIMP, people kept telling me that Photoshop, we paid for it, so I might as well learn how to use it. And I knew lots of people at the time who knew Photoshop and could do a very good job with Photoshop, and I could see their work. I'm talking like at school, like at my high school, and I just thought, nope, I'm not at that level. I use GIMP, but I'm not that good. I'm now learning to use Photoshop. Okay. But every day I experimented with Photoshop. I would just go through all the filters, see what they do. I would try to learn different tools and see what they did. And it was just a pure experimental phase. How learning anything goes. And at the time, again, this friend of mine kept asking me, like, could you, do this wallpaper for stuff? That's kind of what I would do for gifts for her, with her wallpapers. And once again, they were crappy, but I did them, and she used them, and that's all that mattered. And so I started making my own wallpapers, and for other people. And after about 2 years of really kind of going from spriting, because I kind of had to give up. I actually stopped going to those Phoenix Wright forums around my junior and senior year of high school, unfortunately, just had no time. So I went from spriting to just graphic design-ish kind of stuff. In senior year, again, I just did not see myself as a graphic designer. I just was an enthusiast. I didn't think I had any skill. Come to find out that people were asking me for help to design stuff, and people were saying, hey, I need help designing this, and I'll go, yeah, I can do that. That's not that hard. I was asked by an organization to make certificates for them, and that was easy enough. What really hit it home, though, is my senior year, I took kind of a sort of 3D modeling kind of class, 3D modeling animation kind of class. I wasn't supposed to really take it because you were supposed to have taken CAD, computer aided design, I think it stands for, before that, but because I had technically taken a video game course before. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Point is that I could jump to an advanced course in 3D modeling because of an extra course I took one time, and managed to, do some modeling stuff. And I was with a bunch of guys who were super good at this, computer design and modeling and stuff like that. And I was okay, but I wasn't at their level. I just knew enough to do it. Well, we had to do a lot of stuff where we would 3D model it, and then basically go on Photoshop and kind of like make a flyer for it, for whatever we were doing. Like one time we designed like a keychain, so we had to like make a flyer for it. And all of a sudden, I was the Photoshop master of the class. People were asking me questions. These guys who were kind of making fun of me for not really knowing simple stuff, like they were helpful. They weren't really making fun of me, but I still was. I felt like I was below their level. All of a sudden, were asking me questions on how to do things on Photoshop, and I knew the answer because I had experimented enough with it. So all of a sudden, I was known as the Photoshop person. And I still kind of insisted, I have some skill, but nothing really big. I just experiment. I'm not really great. Come to college, undergrad, and all of a sudden, my sophomore year, I get thrown into positions in organizations where they need people who will do like posters and stuff like that, and do graphic design kind of stuff. And it just, even though there were people who were literally studying graphic design, they usually didn't have time or had no interest, or for whatever reason they weren't picked to do it. So I was. And so to this day, I use Photoshop a lot. It's a pretty handy skill to have, to just be able to do it. And again, I'm no master at it. I'm still learning simple skills. I can't use layer masks effectively. I don't really understand how they work that well. I've used them, but not terribly. And so, if you pit me against a Photoshop like person who's learned Photoshop, I am not at their level at all. But I know enough to do stuff. And now if you were to look at my laptop, you wouldn't see a pre-made wallpaper. I've always wanted to try to get a wallpaper and stuff, but I can't anymore because since I can do them myself, I don't see the point of doing it. So that's all. That's just my story of how I got into Photoshop. Again, I'm not that great. You guys can see my title cards. They're okay, but they're fun. And I don't know. I can't draw, but I can do that, and that's kind of nice. At least it's a visual thing I can do, even if I can't. Sometimes I wish I could do more with it. This is running really over time, and I really apologize. This might be a longer episode, but I've had some shorter episodes, so it'll be okay. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope something amazing happens to you, and without further